$15,000. That's how much some travelers will now have to fork over just to set foot in the United States. And no, that's not a luxury tour package. That's not a business class ticket. That's not even your hotel budget. It's a brand new visa bond policy under Donald Trump's administration, pitched as a way to crack down on visa overstays. And it's already sending shockwaves through the global travel industry. And that's not all. On top of this massive refundable deposit for certain countries, there's a fresh $250 visa integrity fee, non-refundable, for nearly everyone else outside the visa waiver program. Add it all up, and the cost of visiting America just took a sharp jump before you've even booked a flight. The result? Travel agents are reporting cancellations, tourism boards are warning of a lost decade for U.S. inbound travel, and airlines, already under pressure from softening demand, are cutting routes into the country. Today, we're unpacking how these new fees work, who's really paying the price, and why industry experts are warning the timing could not be worse, with the U.S. on the cusp of hosting the World Cup and the LA Olympics. Buckle up, because this is about more than visas. This is about America's image, its economy, and a global travel market deciding if visiting the U.S. is still worth the trouble. To understand the uproar, we need to break down exactly what's been announced and how it differs from the headlines. Because while $15,000 visa fee makes for a dramatic headline, the reality is more complicated and maybe even more concerning. First, the so-called $15,000 fee is actually a refundable deposit, officially called the Visa Bond Pilot Program. Effective August 20th, 2025, it targets certain B1 and B2 visa applicants, think business visitors and tourists, from countries with high overstay rates, incomplete vetting systems, or what the State Department calls citizenship by investment programs that require no actual residency. The pilot starts with just 2 countries, Malawi and Zambia, but the Department of State has made it clear the list can grow. Applicants from these countries, if approved, must pay a bond of $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000, with $10,000 as the default. That money is held by the U.S. government for up to a year, and you only get it back if you leave the country on time and through one of 3 designated airports, JFK in New York, Dulles in Washington, or Logan in Boston. Stay a day over, change your status, or skip your designated exit point, and that bond is gone, for good. Officials say this will deter overstays. Critics say it's an expensive punishment aimed at a small number of countries, but with the potential to expand quietly. Now, the second fee, and this is the one with the real global reach, is the $250 visa integrity fee. It's non-refundable and will apply to almost all non-immigrant visa applicants, except those from visa waiver program countries like the UK, Japan, and most of Europe. That means students, seasonal workers, family visitors, and conference attendees from places like India, Brazil, South Africa, and China will all be paying it, on top of the existing $185 application fee. This is a significant increase in the cost of entry to the United States. For a family of 4, that's $1,000 gone before they even book a hotel. That's money that could be spent in our restaurants, our attractions, our local economies. And here's the kicker, these changes arrive at a precarious moment. According to the National Travel and Tourism Office, inbound travel to the U.S. dropped 3.8% in the first 7 months of 2025 compared to last year. July alone saw a 5.1% drop. California, one of the top destinations for foreign tourists, reported an 8.6% year-on-year decline in June. Booking.com's CEO told the Financial Times that the U.S. is now the slowest growing major region for them. Why? Longer processing times, stricter entry procedures, the strong dollar, and yes, rising fees. They're warning that the perception of the U.S. as an expensive and bureaucratic destination is spreading fast, and the timing could not be worse. The U.S. is gearing up to host the FIFA World Cup in 2026 and the Summer Olympics in Los Angeles in 2028. events that should be magnets for millions of international visitors. Instead, industry leaders fear these policies could dampen demand just when the world's eyes are on America. Every barrier you put in front of a traveler, whether it's a fee, a form, or a delay, reduces the pool of people willing to come, and those who choose not to come will spend their money somewhere else. Canada, Europe, Southeast Asia, they're ready to pick up that business. And airlines? While no carrier has officially blamed these visa changes for route cuts, the overall softness in inbound travel demand is part of the equation. Air India recently suspended its Delhi-Washington route, citing aircraft shortages and airspace restrictions. Frontier Airlines slashed over 40 domestic routes after financial losses. It's a reminder that aviation is an ecosystem. Weaken one link and the whole chain feels it. So, to sum it up, a $15,000 refundable bond for select countries, a $250 non-refundable fee for most others, a tourism sector already losing momentum, and mega events looming on the calendar. That's the stage we're stepping onto. And next, we're diving into the hard numbers to see exactly how this is playing out in the data. When policies like this hit, the first thing we look at is the numbers, not the political talking points, not the spin, the raw data. And those numbers are telling a story, one the administration probably doesn't want to hear. Let's start with the big picture. According to the National Travel and Tourism Office, inbound travel to the United States is down 3.8% in the first 7 months of 2025 compared to the same period last year. July was even worse, a 5.1% drop. Now, that might not sound catastrophic on its own, but in tourism economics, even a 1% dip in inbound arrivals can mean billions lost in spending. And remember, these drops happen before the $250 integrity fee takes effect and before the $15,000 bond program is rolled out. Based on average international visitor spending, roughly $4,200 per trip according to the U.S. Travel Association, a 5% drop in just one summer month can mean nearly $1 billion gone from the economy, gone from hotels, restaurants, Uber drivers, tour operators, theme parks. The pain isn't spread evenly. California, one of America's biggest tourism magnets, saw an 8.6% year-on-year drop in international arrivals through its ports of entry in June. Florida has been reporting flat to negative growth in foreign visitors, despite historically being a gateway for Latin American tourism. And New York City, the #1 international arrival city in the U.S., is bracing for a soft fall season, with group bookings from South America down more than 12% year-on-year. Airlines live and die on predictable demand. Even before these visa changes, transatlantic and transpacific yields were under pressure because of a strong dollar and stiff competition from Europe and Asia. Now, industry analysts are warning, add a new cost barrier for travelers and you make route planning a nightmare. While Air India's suspension of Delhi-Washington was officially about aircraft shortages and the Pakistan airspace closure, it's part of a wider pattern. Carriers are trimming capacity to secondary U.S. cities, consolidating flights into major hubs, and, crucially, holding off on adding seasonal routes for 2026. Let's talk about the $15,000 elephant in the room. Right now, it's only Malawi and Zambia in the pilot. Together, these countries send fewer than 15,000 visitors a year to the U.S. So, in pure numbers, it's small, but that's not the point. The point is precedent. The State Department has the authority to add more countries at any time, and if this expands to larger source markets with high overstay rates, think Nigeria, Pakistan, or the Dominican Republic, we could be talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in traveler capital being frozen in government accounts at any given time. Remember, it's refundable only if you play by the exact rules, leave on time, exit through the right airport, and don't change your visa status. One slip, and that's a $10,000 to $15,000 loss. The integrity fee is where the scale explodes. In 2024, the U.S. issued over 7.6 million non-immigrant visas to applicants outside the visa waiver program. If you slap $250 on each of those, you're talking $1.9 billion in new charges hitting travelers worldwide in a single year. For a solo traveler from Brazil or India, that's a bitter pill. For a family of 4, it's $1,000 gone, before airfare, before hotels, before a single dollar is spent in the U.S. economy. The U.S. Travel Association calls the $250 fee a junk fee that risks pushing travelers to competing destinations. Booking.com's CEO warns that long wait times, stricter rules, and new costs are making the U.S. less competitive at a time when every country is fighting for post-pandemic travel dollars. And Oxford Economics? They project an 8.2% drop in international overnight visits for the full year 2025, the steepest non-pandemic decline in over a decade. Here's what's really dangerous for the U.S. Travelers have options. Canada is aggressively marketing itself as a hassle-free alternative, with electronic travel authorizations costing just $7 Canadian. The European Union is launching its ETS system next year, €7 for 3 years of travel. Southeast Asia, Latin America, even parts of Africa are streamlining visas or waiving them entirely to capture more tourist dollars. If America's entry process becomes known for high fees and bureaucratic hoops, people will vote with their feet and their wallets. Tourism leaders are terrified about the optics. In 2026, the U.S. will host the FIFA World Cup. In 2028, Los Angeles will host the Summer Olympics. These events should be once-in-a-generation windfalls for U.S. tourism, but if inbound demand is already soft and new costs are layered on top, the fear is that visitors will scale back, choosing shorter stays, cheaper accommodations, or skipping the trip entirely. So, the data is clear. The trends were negative before the new fees. The $15,000 bond may start small, but it's a precedent. The $250 integrity fee hits millions instantly, and the competition is circling. Which brings us to the big question: who comes out ahead, and who loses the most if these policies stick? In every policy shift, there are winners and losers. And with the $15,000 visa bond and $250 integrity fee, the dividing line isn't just between countries, it's between entire industries. Let's start with the most obvious casualty: the American tourism industry. Every dollar spent on a new visa fee is a dollar not spent on Main Street. Hotels, restaurants, tour operators, theme parks, ride shares, they all feel it. The U.S. Travel Association estimates that for every 1 million visitors lost, the economy forfeits roughly $3.5 billion in direct spending and 23,000 American jobs. With inbound travel already sliding, these new barriers risk turning a soft landing into a full downturn. Then there's education. Students from non-VWP countries, think India, China, Nigeria, Brazil, will now face the $250 integrity fee on top of the $185 application fee and the SEVIS fee for student visas. That's hundreds of dollars in extra cost before tuition, travel, or housing. And for families visiting students or attending graduations, the costs pile up fast. A family of 4 from Sao Paulo now has to budget an extra $1,000 just to enter the U.S. for a one-week trip. Large-scale conferences, conventions, and trade shows, from Las Vegas Tech Expos to Miami art fairs, thrive on international attendance. But for small and medium-sized businesses abroad, these added visa costs could make attending a U.S. event a financial non-starter. Big U.S. hubs like New York or Los Angeles will always have some level of demand. But smaller cities, think Minneapolis, Orlando, or Austin, rely on connecting traffic from international routes. If the pool of visitors shrinks, airlines will cut these thinner routes first. That means fewer options for travelers, higher fares, and even less incentive for international visitors to consider those destinations. If you're Canada, this is your marketing dream: a streamlined electronic travel authorization for $7 Canadian, no massive deposits, no $250 fee. Europe is rolling out its ETIAS program, €7 for 3 years of access. Australia's e-visitor, free. Southeast Asian nations like Thailand and Malaysia, many are dropping visa requirements entirely for key markets. The US is essentially handing its competitors a selling point. Come here, we're cheaper, faster, and friendlier. In Latin America, destinations like Mexico, Costa Rica, and Colombia are poised to scoop up travelers who might have chosen the US but balk at the new fees. For travelers from Africa and Asia, Dubai, Singapore, and Istanbul offer high-quality tourism infrastructure with fewer bureaucratic hoops. In raw dollars, the U.S. government stands to collect about $1.9 billion annually from the integrity fee alone, plus potentially tens of millions held in visa bonds. That's a revenue bump on paper, but if the broader economy loses billions in tourism spending, it's a classic case of winning the battle but losing the war. Right now, Malawi and Zambia are the only countries in the $15,000 bond pilot. Their total visitor numbers to the U.S. are small, so the macroeconomic effect is limited, for now. But politically, being put on this list can strain diplomatic relations and discourage bilateral travel in both directions. Here's the real question. Will the bond program expand to include bigger markets with higher overstay rates? If Nigeria, Pakistan, or the Dominican Republic make the list, the scale changes instantly. Airlines, tourism boards, and even state governments will be forced into the fight. So, on one side, we have foreign destinations sharpening their pitch, promising easier and cheaper travel. On the other, we have the U.S. tourism ecosystem, hotels, attractions, airlines, restaurants, all staring at a future where fewer travelers walk through their doors. And that brings us to the final piece of this story, where this is all heading, because these fees aren't just numbers, they're signals. Signals about the kind of country America wants to be in the eyes of the world. The bond pilot is set for just 12 months. The $250 integrity fee, unless reversed, could be permanent. On paper, these are framed as enforcement tools, designed to protect U.S. borders and ensure visitors play by the rules. In practice, they're a high-cost filter that risks pushing away exactly the kind of travelers the U.S. should be courting: tourists, students, investors, and innovators. Here's what to watch for. If inbound arrivals continue to slide into 2026, expect pressure from the tourism industry, state governors, and even Congress to scale back or scrap these measures. But if the administration sees them as politically popular, they could expand the bond program to more countries, locking in a precedent that's hard to reverse. With the FIFA World Cup and the LA Olympics on the horizon, America is about to stand on the global stage. The question is, will the stands be full, or will the seats go empty because the world decided the trip wasn't worth the cost? This isn't just about visas, it's about perception, competitiveness, and the balance between security and openness. Other countries are moving fast to make travel easier. The US is making it more expensive and more complicated. So, what do you think? Is this a necessary step to protect the system, or a self-inflicted wound on an industry that can't afford another hit? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this video so more people know what's changing, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives on the policies shaping our world. Because this story, it's only just beginning.